Yes, back on Sports Pit, Pauly and Teddy, betting insight today. Look at this guy. Great for the show, great for SBR. Tell people where you're going to be Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday night, 8 o'clock Pacific time. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. If you watched Iowa State and college hoops, leave the TV on ESPN2. There's a Vice World of Sports piece called The Line. It's about the part I'm in is about the Super Bowl between the Seahawks and the Patriots. So it's a little bit dated, but it's pretty cool. Check it out. Set your DVRs. Again, Thursday night, 8 o'clock Pacific. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast after the Iowa State game on ESPN2. Nice to get a little national TV pub every once in a while. It's been a while, man. It's been since Deadspin ripped me. You like to get those now and again.
Yes, there you go. Deep dive, part one, the bowls. And you can go to SBR Forum for their bowl contest as well. It starts December 17th with all the games. Bowl handicapping 101, basic strategies, mainstream thought processes, why we don't play the so-and-so beat so-and-so game.
It's real simple. Okay, don't ever start playing the so-and-so beat so-and-so game. Bama's undefeated. We can't use them. So we got to start with number 2, Clemson. So here we go. Clemson lost to Pitt. Pitt lost to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State lost to Central Michigan. Central Michigan lost to Kent State. They lost to North Carolina A&T, and North Carolina A&T lost to North Carolina Central. That is the number 194 ranked team in Jeff Sagarin's ratings. So therefore they have to be better than Clemson, right? Of course not. It's silliness. Don't even start playing that game.
All right, you wrote this in 2004. Still true or is it dead now? Valid or not valid? Number 1, we'll do 8 of these. Number 1, bet dogs early and favorites late. Valid, not valid?
Okay, the theory is that dogs hold the motivational edge early on. The smaller schools generally are the underdogs. The bigger schools from the bigger conferences are the favorites. And the smaller schools are excited to be there. And then the class shows up for the big games late. Just like we saw Bama do against Florida in the SEC championship game last week where the class is showing. There's kind of some truth to that, but the markets have factored it in. It was really good for a few years early in the century in terms of betting the dogs in the early games, but you're not going to make money anymore blindly betting underdogs early and chalk late. But the whole point of this segment is talking about these are the basic mentality. This is what you're going to hear all kinds of handicapping talk and how to win at bowls. A lot of this stuff is in that mentality. What's true in 2016 and what's not true in 2016, that's what we're trying to break down. And of course, part 2 of this next Wednesday, and that's must-watch TV. I don't hype it enough. This is a really good segment. It's going to be strategies that actually work for 2016, and the markets are sleeping on them. So be sure, if you like this one or not, watch next week.
Number 2, look for the areas of team strength that are not likely affected by a long layoff. Most teams are off for a month here. So in particular, teams that run the ball well are generally good bets in bowl games. Run blocking not something that suffers dramatically during a layoff, nor do the good running backs suffer from a month or rest. Valid, not valid?
Yeah, it's kind of true, but it's not as much about the running games anymore as it was in 2004. It's about quarterbacks that can't be stopped. And of course, the layoffs are shorter now. Just about everybody plays through Thanksgiving weekend, and a good handful of teams even play in the first week of December, while the bowl games keep getting earlier. There's none of those weird January 5th no-name bowl games this year, which disappoints me. There were some real good opportunities in those games with teams that have been off for 6-7 weeks. But again, it's not likely to make you a whole lot of money factor into the markets. But there's still a little old school running left, like LSU having both Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis fresh and ready to go.
Number 3, bet the coaches. Some coaches win every year and have a terrific record. You see Whittingham at Utah. Valid, not valid?
Well, there's definitely, in theory, very, very. You're definitely looking for coaches, but there's not that many coaches out there that have these definitive track records. You're not finding Don Nehlen's floating around in the modern era. Nehlen, the legendary head coach at West Virginia, he was in the 90s, early 2000s. He lost 8 straight bowl games, straight up and against the spread. He was chalk all the time. The first thing you did when I first moved to Vegas, bowl season, was find out which bowl West Virginia was playing in and bet against West Virginia. And of course, your Nick Sabans, your Urban Meyers, they come with a price tag attached. It's not something the markets are sleeping on, but once in a while you find a coach the markets are sleeping on. How about Bill Snyder? The long-term track record's good. Just 1-5 straight up and against the spread in bowls since returning to Kansas State in 2009.
Number 4, look for talented and motivated quarterbacks. Most quarterbacks are leaders of the team, and they want to do well and put on a show for the scouts. Valid, not valid?
Oh, yeah. That's still very valid. I mean, if a quarterback is prepared to make a statement in his bowl game, he's the type of quarterback that's going to surround whose teammates are going to buy into what he's trying to do, and they generally are the type of quarterbacks worth supporting with a wager. High character quarterbacks with talent matter as much as any other factor in bowl games. Guys like, I don't know, Greg Ward, not just his final game at Houston, but perhaps serving as a coach on the field with Tom Herman gone.
Number 5, defenses mean more than the offense. Bet on a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that. But circa 2016, I want underdogs that can score more than I want favorites who can play defense. That being said, in the class mismatch games, beware the offensive juggernaut who is suddenly up against a Big Ten or an SEC defense. Remember Memphis versus Auburn last year? The class one I remember, Hawaii playing Georgia in a BCS bowl game. You know, we'll be talking about one of the biggest defensive mismatches of all the bowl season. We talk about Stanford, North Carolina in a couple of weeks. But be very aware of those teams that have put up big numbers against lesser defenses and now have to step up in class defensively.
Number 6, look for teams that are searching for respect. One team's getting all the hype. The other team is seen as just lucky to be there.
Yeah, I mean, really, pay particular attention to this in the later bowl games when the media glare really starts to heat up. But there's definitely still some truth to that. But you got to be sure to look for talented teams searching for respect, not shitbags.
Yeah, no doubt. Number 7, handicap the conferences as a whole. Bet on the conference.
Yeah, I mean, when a particular conference shows strength early in the bowl season, the remaining teams from that conference, the theory is that you bet on the other teams from that conference. And the teams that start out terribly, you bet against those teams. And there's some truth to this and some fiction. The truth, every year some conferences are going to underachieve ATS and some conferences are going to overachieve ATS. And if you can identify them very early, you can make money. But the fiction, oftentimes by the time you figure out which conferences that are good and which conferences are bad, it's too late. And that's doubly so in a year where there's 80 teams in bowl games. There's an unbelievable number of genuinely bad football teams or genuinely mediocre football teams playing. You don't want to cloud the conference when their crappiest teams get beat up for the first week of bowl season. And the very good teams from the bad ATS conferences can be undervalued in the end because the markets don't sleep on the handicap the conference as a whole as the bowl season progresses.
Yes, last one, number 8. I like this. It's simple. It's easy. Don't be afraid to pass. There's 40 games now.
Yeah, I mean, the quote that I used in the article from 2004 was that the entire bowl season is about half the games of a normal Saturday college football card. That's no longer the case. Now it's about 75% for the entire bowl season of a normal Saturday college football card. If you're betting every game, you have a problem and you need some help. I had a great bowl season last year. I made 13 plays for my clients and a handful of too late to release wagers, a handful of free plays. All in all, I bet less than half the games. But whatever you do, don't kill your kids' Christmas with a bunch of bad bets. My personal single worst sports betting experience was a bowl season in the mid-90s before I moved to Vegas. I lost early, and then I started chasing, and I was betting on teams I hadn't watched and didn't know, and it changed my life. It legitimately changed my life, that one bad bowl season, because after that, I said, if you want to bet, you got to take it seriously. I took it seriously. I ended up in Vegas, and I've been out here for almost 20 years, so I don't mind that happened in retrospect, but I'll tell you what. That was a frickin' horrible time, and I don't wish that on anyone. Don't be stupid. Don't be afraid to pass.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks. So we're giving you picks every day, and you're probably making your own as well. Be sure to participate in SBR's weekly Twitter Bankroll Challenge. Just post your picks on Twitter with @SBRSportsPicks and the hashtag BetSBR before 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, Monday through Friday. We'll be betting your picks, and if the bankroll is positive at the end of the week, you could win the profits. Picks must be of events taking place that day and available in at least one of the major sportsbooks shown in our Best Sportsbooks page.